Look at these no names spitting and sniffing that cocaine. I'll leave your jaw swinging from your neck like a gold chain. I'll break your legs and wrists and get you walking funny. You don't spend shit, so stop talking money.
Yo, what is going on, everybody? It is Straight Outta Boston, aka the King of Boston, and today we have episode 2 of the Titans Connected Career Mode, featuring head coach Dick Bliss. Yeah. And today we have the final 2 preseason games. We're going to go up against the Arizona Cardinals and the New Orleans Saints. Both of these games would be home games in LP Field in Tennessee. So, getting into the gameplay here, like I said, facing the Arizona Cardinals. Week 3, usually the week where the starters play, usually almost into the second half a lot of the time, unless you're kind of a bigger name, then, you'll maybe come out midway through the second quarter, but that's what happens in real life in Madden. It's kind of just set that starters always come out after the first quarter, so it's a little bit annoying, but at this point, I kind of figured out who was going to be starting for us. It was really a couple competitions for the backup positions. Although you will see in this episode the emergence of Matt Hasselbeck really making a hard push for trying to beat out Jake Locker. I had said from the start that Jake Locker was going to be our starting quarterback, but, the Hasselbeck made some very, very impressive throws. Also some not so impressive ones, but he definitely is, I think that he shortened the leash a little bit on Jake Locker for the start of the regular season. So a couple of the notable backup positions we're fighting for are, especially at halfback. Right now we have Chris Johnson, Thomas Jones, Javon Ringer, and Denarius Renaud. I'm never going to pronounce that right, but you can see him there. So really, Javon Ringer was fighting for playing time with Denarius Renaud at this point because, I wasn't going to carry 4 running backs on our team. And Renaud looked really impressive the first 2 weeks. Ringer was kind of average. And Ringer got a little bit better these last 2 weeks. And Renaud really fell off the wagon. So, anyway, you'll see what we do. There's also a move that we make at the beginning of the next episode. Although, I don't think I ever recorded, so I'll actually explain it at the end of this episode. What we do to kind of help out our halfback situation. But Thomas Jones was brought in to be the power back to kind of complement Chris Johnson's speed ability. And hopefully that would help Johnson out a little bit. So, although we did not guarantee him a roster spot, we signed him, and then we decided within the organization that we were going to see how he worked. If he was too slow, if he wasn't, getting the job done, then we would cut him very quickly. So, anyway, we also have a position battle that really came up these last 2 weeks for the third receiver. So, right now, our top 2 receivers are Kenny Britt and Nate Washington. They're pretty set there. I don't think there's going to be too much shifting around there, but our third and fourth guys are Kendall Wright and Lavelle Hawkins. Now, Lavelle Hawkins really emerged as an incredible deep threat. So, we could have put him at the third receiver slot, but I think that, the third receivers aren't always going to really be running those deep patterns. So, I think we're going to keep Kendall Wright third and Lavelle Hawkins fourth. We will definitely have Lavelle Hawkins as a very key fourth-string wide receiver, something that actually gives us a lot of trade opportunities if we wanted to trade Nate Washington maybe, or I think Kendall Wright and Kenny Britt are definitely, keepers for us, but if we decided to trade Nate Washington, who's getting up there in years a little bit, and, maybe might have been coming off a season that, maybe he won't reproduce that, because he'd never really been that kind of guy before last year, but you see there Lavelle Hawkins catching the ball in the streak route. What Lavelle Hawkins does really well for me in this is he beats press coverage and finds the holes in that zone, and then we can zip it into him there, and he's very good at getting yards after the catch. Now, we end up cutting a lot of ends and guards at this point. I tried to narrow it down. We do run the 4-3 defense, so we tried to keep at least a total of 5 ends, and I think we kept 4 defensive tackles, maybe just 3. I think we kept 4 defensive tackles. And that allowed us to go a little bit thinner at linebacker. I think we kept a total of 4 outside linebackers and 2 or 3 middle linebackers. So if I can give you guys for tips for cutting players, it really depends on your defensive scheme. If you're running a 3-4, then you obviously want more linebackers. But if you're running a 4-3, you definitely need more defensive ends because you're going to be using more defensive ends in the game. Now, I know there are also different packages per defensive playbook, but I'm primarily a 4-3 guy. I like having 4 guys up front. I find that I can't get cheesed by runs like halfback draws and stuff. So although they definitely fixed the one thing I'm really happy about with Madden this year is how they did fix the halfback screen and the halfback draw. Both were very cheesy plays, very easy to do. Even in NCAA Football 13, they were very easy to do. However, in Madden 13, they've turned out to be actually quite challenging, to be honest. I rarely get big plays from either of them. The halfback screen, I sometimes get tackled in the backfield even, and a halfback draw, sometimes I can only pick up 2 or 3 yards on. So, anyway, this video is kind of wrapping up here. That was pretty much the Cardinals' last chance at a victory there. So we end up winning 24-12. That 12 came from a missed 2-point conversion. And here's a little proof that I do play on All Madden. You can share your games to Twitter. So I took a snapshot of me about to share the game to Twitter, which did say All Madden. And the reason I took the snapshot of that is that people didn't say that I just wrote that in there on Twitter. I do actually play on All Madden. I know it's hard to believe sometimes because honestly, I'm doing a lot better than I thought I would. And it probably looks like I'm playing on a lower difficulty, but I can promise I'm playing on All Madden, and I might go for some sliders. I'm the type of guy, though, that's played Madden for so long. I've just been so used to how it plays, which is why I am, like, pretty good at this game. I'm not going to call myself a very good player at this, but I'm going to call myself a decent player at this game. I'm just going to go out there and say it, because I've played this game for so long. My first Madden was Madden 2003 with Marshall Faulk on the cover. That was my first video game ever, and I've played 02, 03, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and now 13. I've played all of them. I've put so many hours into the games. I've just, you can definitely call me a Madden, I guess would the equivalent of a sneakerhead for Madden be like a Madden head? I don't know. But definitely a fan of the series, and I've been so used to the way that it plays, the speed that it plays at, what you can and can't do, little tricks and stuff, that I'm not really the biggest fan of sliders. I know it makes it a little bit more realistic, and it might make it a little bit more challenging for me, which we'll have to do, but you'll see the first 2 weeks, after the first week, well, I'm not going to spoil it, but the first 2 weeks, I think, I'll explain a little bit more about my decision on custom sliders. However, after this game, I know I'm doing 2 games per episode for the preseason, but when we do go back to the regular season, I will do 1 game per episode, because one, I find that it's a lot easier to edit those down. It also is a lot easier to kind of tell the story of the game when you do that. Instead of, condensing into 5 minutes, you can condense it into 10. Because I usually shoot for around 10-minute video lengths. I don't like to go too much longer than that. Anyway, as you can see here, we are going up against the New Orleans Saints. This was a game that was definitely going to be a challenge for these Tennessee Titans. I definitely don't want to be like too good with this team because it's not a Super Bowl team right now. It's barely a playoff team, I think. Their defense is so solid though, and I will reiterate this, in any sport I play, defense does win championships. As much as people don't like to admit it, it really does. And I just think that except in baseball, I can say in baseball pitching wins championships over defense. I will say that. Although defense can in turn help you out pitching, so kind of works both ways. Anyway, that's not the point of this commentary. I don't want to get off guard or off track too much here. But anyway, the Titans have a very solid all-around defense. Signing Sean Merriman at the beginning added some depth here to the defensive end or to the end positions. We could use maybe another defensive back. We don't really have a lockdown defensive back, and we have some decent safeties. Jordan Babin is pretty good. So, the secondary is solid. The front seven is very, very good. Guys like, Chad McCarthy, I believe, Akeem Ayers, who I'm really high on. I think he's a lot of potential. David Ball, Sean Merriman, as I said. I think it's Cameron Wimberly. I don't know if it's because it's K Wimberly, but I feel like his name's Cameron. I could be wrong on that. But anyway, I'm very high on this team's defense, and if Jake Locker can develop down the road, I think after the trade we make, we'll have our running back set for the next 5 to 6 years. Wide receiver, we got young guys like Kendall Wright and Kenny Britt, and a guy like Lavelle Hawkins who can replace Nate Washington down the road. And there's obviously free agency in the draft, so I think our big questions going into future years are going to be offensive line and the secondary. We have 2 old offensive linemen. I think I can't remember what his first name is, but it's like Roos. His last name is Roos or Ross. And then we have Steve Hutchinson. So there are 290 overalls. There are only 290-plus overalls on the offensive line. Everybody else is in like the 70s. So that's the only question right now going into future years. I've definitely been scouting offensive linemen for the draft. And here goes Lavelle Hawkins again, beating the press coverage, going deep down the field. This is going to end up as a touchdown to put us up 21-13. Huge play by Hawkins again. Like I said, making a case for him being the third receiver on this team. We're definitely going to have to use him a lot more than I planned on going into the year. But anyway, you're going to see here some clips from Javon Ringer running the ball. This is kind of the summary of the battle between him and Denarius Renaud. As you can see here, he's going to take the drop play, go up the middle, and pick up a good chunk of yards. He seems to do like everything decently. He does not really outstanding anything. He's not a power back, but he's certainly not a speed back. And here Hasselbeck, once again, doing the whole one step forward, one step back thing. Every time he makes a good throw, he seems to just make another mistake. But that's on me, too. So I think, like I said, Hasselbeck is going to definitely be there at the beginning of the year and see how he can do. And here's a nice little Joseph Adai floating in midair type flying play. There's a couple of these here. You can see it looks like he trips over the guy. This is, just part of the glitches in the Affinity engine. But he trips over. Looks like he's going to fall flat in his face and then somehow catches himself in midair and lands on his feet. I don't know, maybe he's a cat or something. Who knows? Cats always land on their feet. I guess that was a bad comparison. But Javon Ringer, again, really showing us why he should be kept on this team. And, why either Jones or Renaud should get the boot. But Dennis Dixon here, he's going to find Lavelle Hawkins, but Lavelle Hawkins will drop the ball. So we're going to bring on the punter, Christoph Kern, I believe. I mean, not Christoph Kern, that's a cyclist. But, I need to learn these players' names. I really apologize, guys. But he brings on Curran. He hits the field goal, puts us up 24-13. Here's another nice Infinity Engine glitch. Whoa! Look at this. We're going to take a look one more time. It was a little bit blurry there, but he kind of just warped backwards and landed with, looked like he was falling down with the ball outward like that. That was a little weird. But anyway, we're going to force the fumble here, and that would pretty much do it for us. We would be able to run out the clock. And we're going to improve to 3-1 this preseason, a very successful preseason. I'm going to show you guys a couple of the big cuts that I made. As you can see, we're getting another interception with Cito. It's either Cito or Cito's Sensabaugh. But you see there we went 24-13. We're going to make a few last couple cuts here. The big one, and then there's the picture of me playing on Madden, obviously. I'm going to keep showing that every game. Here's the big cut, Thomas Jones. And I will say the trade we did make was we traded Denarius Renaud and a 4th-round draft pick for Toby Gerhardt, who's going to fill that need at power back that we have. I wasn't so sure about giving up a 4th rounder, but it is a 2014 4th rounder, so hopefully that'll work out. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed. Thanks for watching, and as always, I'm out. Peace.